A few weeks ago, I posted a video with my initial testing and sound samples of the new PodMic USB from Rode. Now that I've had a chance to use it a bit more, it's time for a full review and some comparisons to other microphones. Before we dive in, I want to mention that this video is not sponsored and I purchased the PodMic USB myself. So it's time to take a closer look at the PodMic USB. Right now you're hearing the raw audio over the XLR output into the Rodecaster Pro 2 with no processing applied. I will indicate on the screen for you throughout this video which output you are hearing and if any processing has been applied. For anyone that missed my initial video on the PodMic USB, let's just take a moment and cover the specifications and the hardware features. The PodMic USB is a dynamic XLR and USB microphone with a cardioid polar pattern, built-in DSP, and 3.5mm headphone output for latency-free monitoring. It has a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz, a sensitivity of -57 dBV over XLR, an impedance of 460 ohms also over XLR, and a max SPL of 148 dB. The USB connection is USB-C and the audio conversion is 24-bit 48 kHz. It's compatible with Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android over the USB connection, and it uses Rode Central, Rode Connect, or Rode Unify to control the processing. The price of the PodMic USB is $199 US. All right, before we get into the comparisons to all of these other microphones, let me just share my favorite things about the PodMic USB after testing it for the last 3 weeks. First, the DSP settings are retained in the microphone. I think this is really helpful for a couple of reasons. First, for your content creators, especially if you use the PodMic USB with different devices, you're traveling, you're disconnecting, connecting it over the USB connection, it just saves you some setup time. You can plug it in and hit record. But also, if you're a remote worker, if you work from home and you're using the PodMic USB for your virtual meetings, the great thing about having these settings retained in the microphone is that a lot of companies don't allow you to install software on their devices. But because those settings are retained in the microphone, even after you've disconnected it from a device, you can just set it up with your smartphone or your personal computer, disconnect it, plug it into your work computer, and you're all set. Second, the included pop filter is great. It's effective, it doesn't look ridiculous, and I love that they included it. And third, the sound and build quality are great. I hear just a slight difference in the qualities of the sound in a good way. I think it provides a nice quality sound, and also the build quality is fantastic. So then what are my least favorite things about the PodMic USB? I'll tell you after we do the comparisons. All right, to start things off, we have the Zoom ZDM1. This is a dynamic broadcast style microphone that is XLR only, no special features, no USB, but the cost is $49. I wanted to include one budget podcasting option here in these samples. This is recording into the Rodecaster Pro 2 over XLR, no processing applied. Stepping up in price slightly to $79, we have the Audio-Technica ATR2100x. I think I got that name right. This one's a USB XLR combination microphone, so you are hearing both the PodMic USB and the 2100X connected over USB to my MacBook Pro. No processing applied because there is no processing to apply to the 2100X. There's no built-in DSP, no software features or anything like that. It's just a straight-up USB mic. All right, stepping up in price to $99, we now have the original Rode PodMic over here on this side, and we have the PodMic USB over here on this side. These are both connected over XLR to the Rodecaster Pro 2, no processing applied. And I've also removed the windscreen from the PodMic USB because the original PodMic doesn't come with a windscreen. So here is how they both sound with no windscreen, no processing, just the raw audio from both the original PodMic and the PodMic USB. All right, staying at the $99 price point, this is the Samson Q9U. This is also a USB XLR microphone. It does have a couple of additional features. It has a mute button as well as a mid-frequency boost, which I do have engaged currently. It's also got a high-pass filter switch, which I do not have engaged currently. And just to give you a quick sample, this is the Samson Q9U with the mid-frequency boost switch off, and now you can see why I had it on. So there you go, Samson Q9U PodMic USB. All right, I'm throwing this one in for fun. This is a mini short shotgun video microphone, the Rode VideoMic GO II. I have it connected over USB to my MacBook. You're also still hearing the PodMic USB over USB. This has a couple of processing features you can actually turn on in Rode Central and Rode Connect. Now, I'm doing this mainly because of the USB capability of the VideoMic GO II. You could use the VideoMic GO II as like a remote working microphone if you don't want to have a microphone on screen with you. The VideoMic GO II costs $99. And now you're hearing some processing applied on both of these microphones. I have the DSP that it's available for the VideoMic GO II turned on, which includes high pass filter, RL exciter, big bottom, and compression. Those are just toggle on off options in Rode Connect. So there you go, sample of the processed sound you can get between the VideoMic GO II and the PodMic USB. All right, stepping up in price to $129 now, we have the Sennheiser Profile USB condenser microphone. This is a USB-only condenser microphone, so no XLR output, and it also has more physical controls. I'll give you a different camera angle of it because it's hard to see right now. You've got physical controls on the front of the Sennheiser Profile. In addition to a mute button, you've also got the microphone gain level, which is nice to have right on the device. You've got your headphone volume, and you've also got a headphone monitor mix between device and direct monitoring. I want to mention, I think the headphone output on the Sennheiser Profile is just a touch noisier than the PodMic USB. They're both about the same. There's both a little bit of that like background hiss. As I mentioned, no processing to apply. There is no software, nothing that comes with the Profile. It is meant to just be a plug-and-play USB condenser microphone. So there you go, PodMic USB, Sennheiser Profile. All right, moving up in price to $149, we have the Elgato Wave 3, another USB-only condenser microphone. You're hearing them both connected over USB to my MacBook Pro with no processing currently. I will give you a process sample in just a second because the Elgato Wave 3 includes the WaveLink software, which allows you to apply some plugins, some processing. All right, and now here's a sample of both microphones with some processing being applied. You're hearing the audio from the Elgato Wave 3 going through Link software, where I have enabled the Waves Sheps omni-channel plugin, and you're also hearing the built-in DSP processing on the PodMic USB, which I turned on using Rode Central. So the main difference with this is really just the simplicity, because even though the Elgato WaveLink software is simple and easy to use, the sky's the limit as far as what you can do with the processing. However, the trade-off there is that you need to have the Elgato WaveLink software open and running on your computer to handle that processing. So there you go, $150 Elgato Wave 3 condenser, USB only, processing on the computer, PodMic USB, $199, USB and XLR processing built into the microphone. All right, another modest bump up in price to $169. We have the Rode NTUSB Plus, another USB-only condenser microphone. This one does have DSP capabilities built in, just like the PodMic USB, that can be saved onto the NTUSB Plus so that they are retained in the microphone. So you're hearing them both connected over USB, of course, no processing applied. And now you're hearing the processing apply to both microphones. So the NTUSB Plus works a little bit differently. They basically are just simple toggle switches. You do have control over the high pass at 75 or 150 hertz, as well as compression, big bottom, and RL exciter. Those three are just toggle switches to turn on or off. So I've engaged all of those with Rode Central, and you're also hearing the processing turned on the PodMic USB, including the compression, RL exciter, big bottom, and the high pass filter. At 60 hertz, there is only one high pass filter option with the PodMic USB. So there you go, NT-USB Plus, PodMic USB with processing. All right, this one should be interesting. We have what is now a kind of a curious option from Rode here, the XDM100 from Rode's Rode X line for streamers and gamers. Compared to the PodMic USB, the processing is not engaged on either one of these. This is just the raw audio connected over USB to my MacBook Pro. The XDM100 costs $249, and it is a USB-only dynamic microphone with DSP capabilities and the 3.5mm headphone output. I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed in the headphone output on this. It's pretty noisy. I don't know, hopefully maybe this is just my copy that I received, but the other thing to be aware of is that you still cannot use any software except for Rode's Unify software to control the DSP. I don't know if at some point they're gonna add that capability to Rode Connect or Rode Central. There will be a Mac beta version of Rode Unify coming soon, as indicated on their website. I did sign up for that so that I can test it out with this, but for now, you have to use a Windows machine to do any type of DSP settings with the XDM100. So it just seems like it's kind of oddly positioned in the market right now, but let me know what you think. All right, we're still at $249. Here is what I think is the main competitor for the PodMic USB. This is the Shure MV7. We have these both recording over USB, and there is no processing being applied yet. The MV7 has some built-in DSP like the PodMic USB, and it is retained in the microphone like the PodMic USB, so you can turn it on, plug it into a different device, and then still get that DSP effect. Shure's Motive app is available for desktop, but also for smartphones. So you can actually connect the MV7 to your smartphone and control the DSP, and you can actually even record right in the Shure Motive app and then export your audio files from there. You can also use both the XLR and the USB output of the MV7 at the same time. This is something the Podmic USB doesn't do. And now you're hearing the processed sound from both microphones. On the MV7, we have the high-pass filter and the presence boost engaged. We also have medium compression applied. Podmic USB, we've got the compressor, aural exciter, big bottom, as well as the high-pass filter. So there you go, the Shure MV7 and the Podmic USB with their processing capabilities. Let me know in the comments which one you think sounds better. And here's our final comparison. This is the Shure SM7B and the Podmic USB. I've reinstalled the foam windscreen on the Podmic USB because, of course, the SM7B has its built-in windscreen as well. Both connected over XLR to the Rodecaster Pro 2 with no processing being applied. The SM7B costs $399, so you can buy 2 Podmic USBs for the price of one SM7B. The SM7B does have a couple of switches on the back. You've got your presence boost as well as your high-pass filter. Neither one is engaged. And just to give you a quick sample of what some processing can sound like on these two, this is now the Rodecaster Pro 2's built-in DSP processing, including the noise gate, compression, a little bit of EQ to both, a little bit of de-essing, the aural exciter and big bottom, I have them all engaged. And now we're back to just the raw audio for both the Podmic USB and the SM7B. That'll do it for our microphone comparisons. I hope those comparisons help put the Podmic USB into some context for you. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think of all of the different microphones? Did you have a favorite in there? Did the Podmic USB sound better than some or all or none of them? Now, I also want to point out one thing about the USB connectivity of the Podmic USB. I've seen a lot of conflicting information online about the ability to connect the Podmic USB via USB directly to one of the Rodecaster devices, either the Rodecaster Pro 2 or the Rodecaster Duo. I actually have both. The Rodecaster Duo just arrived a couple days ago, and I have tried to connect it via USB to both the USB 1 and 2 connections on both devices, and I have not been able to get a signal. I also went to Rode's website and looked at the user guides for all 3 devices, and none of them make any mention of connecting the Podmic USB directly to either of the Rodecaster devices. So maybe that's something that they can enable with a firmware update on the Rodecaster devices, but for now, I have not been able to get it to work. But I was still able to get the Podmic USB signal over USB into the Rodecaster Pro 2 by connecting it to my computer and using the USB1 CHAT channel as the monitor output of Rode Connect. So I've got the Podmic USB connected to my MacBook Pro, I've got Rode Connect open, and I selected the Rodecaster Pro 2 USB1 CHAT as the monitor output channel on the Rodecaster Pro 2. It does record in multi-track to its own channel. So in a pinch, you can get the USB audio into one of the Rodecaster devices by using Rode Connect on your computer and sending the monitor out into that USB1 CHAT channel. I have not had any issues with Rode software for Mac, Rode Connect, or Rode Central. We're looking at the Rode Connect interface now. We'll pop open the Podmic USB controls here. We'll get our DSP engaged. So there we go, our big bottom and aural exciter are engaged. We'll get the noise gate turned on. We'll also get the compressor turned on and our high pass filters on 60 Hertz. So there we go. The one thing I've had a little bit of trouble with personally is the noise gate. I feel like even when I turn it down, right now the threshold is all the way down at -41, so it's not supposed to be engaging unless the sound level drops below -41. And I occasionally hear a little bit of sound like it might be being a little bit overly aggressive. That's the only feature of the DSP I've had a little bit of trickiness with. Otherwise, I find all of the DSP features to work really well. They're retained in the microphone and they sound nice in my experience. All right, so what are my least favorite things about the Podmic USB? Well, first, it's the LED indicator light. This is not a huge deal, but it is just a little bit annoying to me. Now, the LED indicator light will tell you whether you are actively monitoring, but of course you can tell that from sound, but it will also tell you whether you're muted or not, and it's on the back of the microphone. So it's not useful to me at all while I'm recording because I can't see it. Second, and this one's a bigger deal, you cannot use the XLR and USB outputs at the same time. This is a bummer because there are some real use cases for this. The most obvious one I can think of is maybe you've got a guest that joins you on your podcast and you don't trust them to maintain the proper volume. If you could use both outputs at the same time, you can set one of them to a lower recording level, and basically that becomes a safety track. If that is at the top of your list, you need to be able to do that with your microphone. That's going to be a deal breaker for you. So considering all of my testing and the other options that are on the market, would I recommend the PodMic USB? Yes, I do. So I would personally recommend the PodMic USB over the MV7 to anybody that doesn't need to use both outputs at the same time. I think this is a fantastic microphone option for somebody that works from home and wants to get that better quality audio for all their virtual meetings, but you don't want to have to buy extra gear. You've got basically an all-in-one package here. And if you're a content creator, you've got versatility. You can use it over XLR with your current setup if you have one. You can use it over USB, you can travel with it. So who do I not recommend the PodMic USB for? Well, this really wouldn't be any different than any other USB XLR microphone that has DSP. If you don't need those features, if you have no use for USB or built-in DSP, if you have an XLR only setup that you're happy with and that's what you intend to stick with, then you're better off with the original PodMic, because why pay for features that you're never going to use? All right, I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments if it was. Do me a favor and hit the like button if you did find it helpful so YouTube can show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe to the Semi-Pro Tech and Gear channel. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.